Hey, what's up? Morning, guys. Welcome to the channel. Today is the unboxing of the reissue. I seen Star Wars last night. I went to the 10:10 p.m. showing, which didn't start until about 10:45 because of previews. And truthfully, there's only two movies I think out of all the previews that I watched that struck any interest to me whatsoever. One was Black Widow, of course, and the other was Top Gun Maverick. It had some interest to me. The other 40 minutes or whatever that I sat there, I mean, literally, no interest in any movie that they were enticing me with for the summer of 2020. Really boring. But Star Wars, we could talk about Star Wars, I think. Now it's been, we probably could have talked about it last week. I asked you guys to give me a week to go see it. So I made sure my wife was okay and able to sleep if she wished. And I could sneak out of the house for a few hours. Got out of there at 1 o'clock in the morning for 10 o'clock, 10:10 showing. So that tells you what time the movie started. Anyhow, I say we can open it up for Star Wars. If you haven't seen it by now, you're not a fan, and know that there's going to be some spoilers. So it wasn't bad, okay? Whereas the other two, I think, were pretty bad. It wasn't bad. I didn't appreciate how it ended, truthfully, and I felt it was kind of juvenilely written like it was written the same way that I felt that what was that? Gosh darn it! There's this movie series about this girl, Hunger Games. I think it was written as in the same with the same juvenileness as Hunger Games was. It just didn't seem like it was written very well. Sorry to say, but it wasn't like 7 and 8 where I didn't feel like I was being preached to the entire time for 2 hours. It was a good, enjoyable movie as far as that goes. I think they were probably had a lot to try to. I think they were forced into a corner that they probably didn't want to be in, more or less, and had to try to work around that. Um, Noble Young, hello. CBS Sci-Fi, hello. Save Mason, how are you? What's up? And the light is very bright. Okay, let's resolve that. I didn't turn this one on yet. See if this makes any difference. No. Makes it even brighter. Worse. Let's turn this one off. Turn this one off. Any better? Leave it at that. Gary, I'm so tempted in buying the third 6 scale rendition of IP Man. But seeing how the head sculpt looks exactly the same as version 2.0, I'm kind of doubtful now. IP Man. What is IP Man? Jesper, how you doing, man? So, okay, so obviously some of the news is the Mark 47 reissue was announced. Um, I sold mine by accident at the right time, it seems. I knew I had every intention of getting another one, but thought I would have to pay, $1,000 for it or whatever in the future. And so I've been redeemed. The price has gone up literally $25, more or less, is what it costs now for the reissue. And it is an exact duplicate. It is it again. Same MMS number, exact same item, no improvement, no difference. it is the Mark 47 as released 2 years ago again. So now you can buy one for $373. Originally, it was $350, more or less. And be out in a year, I think is what it says. Q4 2020, Q1 2021. Here's my thought on reissues of what's going on. This Mark 43 that we're opening today was their first reissue. Now, in my opinion, the reason that they made the Mark 43 reissue is because they reissued the Mark 44. The reason they reissued the Mark 44 is because they finally made the jackhammer arm on it. Now, I ordered just the jackhammer arm, which hasn't been released yet. And I have no earthly idea how that even is supposed to come off. There's no way looking at the figure that I see where the arm comes off easily at all. So they made a full-on Mark 44 that you could buy, the Hulkbuster, with the jackhammer arm accessory there already. So if you have a Mark 44, you have to have the guy that goes inside of the Mark 44. So in my opinion, that was the sole reason of re-releasing the Mark 43, which we have here. My Mark 43 stays in the other room in my Age of Ultron diorama, where I have all the Avengers and Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, because they weren't necessarily Avengers at that point, even though Hawkeye told her, you step out this door or whatever, you're an Avenger. So he stays in there. He's not part of the Iron Man story here of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yada, yada, yada. So I'd always wanted another one for that, and or even for the Hulkbuster, even though the Hulkbuster is displayed with his helmet closed all the time. So this opportunity came up. Obviously, yes, I picked him up. And also there's, if I remember correctly, you could display him either as battle damage or not. Well, I'll remember again once we get this open, so we'll get into that. Now, the Mark 47, first thought that came to my mind was, what in the hell are they doing? For real. Obviously, the easy answer is money grab. Well, that's not really the easy answer. They are reselling something that they've already saturated a market with in the first place. Needless to say, supply outweighed demand that was created. But let's say, for instance, that the most of any product you're going to sell, and I'm going to try to keep it to a manageable number here. Let's say the most of any product you're ever going to sell is 100 of them. Okay? And they weren't sure if they would sell 100 of them, so they made 40. All right? So those 40 sold out, and then there was a demand. So now they decided, well, we'll go ahead and crank out the other 60. They're only making the money on 60 now. You understand what I'm saying? And they've had to fire everything back up. It's like starting your car. There's a point where you leave your car running because it costs more money to start the car back up than it does just to leave it running for a few more moments. Okay? For them to start the factories back up and rekey everything and pull out the old dies, it costs money to startup time again. So that ate up into their cost of manufacturing these products for the potential 60 that they might sell out of the 100 that they think they could sell altogether. Now, take that same startup cost, that same desire for a product, and make something that everyone's been asking for instead. You can make any other Iron Man figure, like the ones that haven't been released yet, and make more money of them because there's the potential of the 100 that you could sell. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a money grab to some degree, but potentially they're already in the hole on that in the first place. So that was my first thought. The second thought then came, if it's not a true money grab, maybe it has to do something or anything with the Black Widow. Black Widow movie comes out before Infinity War. Black Widow movie comes out approximately the same time Homecoming is going down. Mark 47 is the Homecoming Iron Man armor. We never got a definitive answer ever on the 48 and 49. Hulkbuster 2 is someplace in there. A lot of y'all think that the Mark 49 is a suit that we see 7 or 8 years later that Rescue is wearing, that Pepper's wearing. Some of y'all want to argue that that 49 is a 7-year-old suit that she's wearing. That she's wearing 7-year-old technology that he made for her as the Mark 49, when every armor that he makes, he numbers for himself. Any armor he makes for anybody else, he doesn't number in that same numbering. War Machine isn't numbered in his suits. Spider-Man's numbers aren't in his suits. There's 4 digits on that rescue suit, 0049, not 49. On the Mark 42, it specifically says MK42. So along that same numbering, you would imagine MK49 would be there, not MK0049. War Machine gets 3 numbers, 001, 002. Pepper gets 4 numbers. That's Pepper's 49th suit. That's not the Mark 49. So my thought is, and already Tony Stark is rumored to be in Black Widow. Robert Downey Jr. is rumored to be in Black Widow. I have a feeling we're going to see this Mark 47 in Black Widow. And that is why we're getting it re-released. It makes 0 sense whatsoever. The potential grab of money to start up a closed line just isn't there for the Hot Toys to say, oh, we're going to make $1 billion off of this. They're not making $1 billion off this Mark 47. It's not happening. Or this Mark 43. And trust me, they don't love you and I that much. They're like, oh, we feel you, man. We feel your pain. We feel that you missed out on it. Because if they did, that silly things, Mark III, would have been cranked out a long time ago. That bad boy sells for $2,000 plus. That's more than any other figure. If they felt for you that much, they'd have cranked out some little gray, no paint required, all one color. Mark III's plastic. They don't love you that much. I hate to tell you this. They ain't cranking out those Mark 47s because they love you. I have a feeling it has to do with Black Widow. Truthfully. That's my opinion of what's going on with the Mark 47. Did I order them? Oh, yeah. You better believe it. So in a year's time or whatever, I expect to be having a Mark 47 back in this house. Okay. Looking good, bro. Hope you're well. IP Man, I wonder if you're talking about Iron Patriot. My back is killing me this morning, man. Donnie Yen, I don't know anything about IP Man. Thanks, Gary. I don't have any idea. I don't even know what that is. I like the last Star Wars, Kylo Ren. I was really pleased with Adam Driver's performance of Kylo Ren. I felt for him the entire time. I was on the edge of my seat, curious what was going on in his mind. I never really understood where he was. At the end of the movie, I started putting it all together. Really disappointed what they did with Kylo at the end. Really. I'm talking about the very end. Really pleased where he was, okay? And I was really hoping that they would move forward with that more so than they did, all right? I think that they destroyed an opportunity. I think they pulled another Boba Fett with that, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But yeah, I was really pleased with Kylo Ren. I enjoyed Rey's character development as well, also in this movie, finally. Where the other 2 movies I didn't give a damn about Rey. I started caring a little bit more about Rey. So it was good to see that there was a new set, or I'm glad to see that the reins were put on this movie and controlled by somebody who had some sort of desire, passion, or feeling for it. Whereas, especially number 8, there was like zero compassion, care, concern, or anything with the franchise or the characters. In my opinion, the writers of 8 didn't give a damn. They were getting paid. I have a feeling that the writers of 9, though their hands were tied by what had happened in 8, I felt that they still tried to tell a pretty good story. But like I said, it felt juvenile. It was a little long. Some of it was a little bit predictable. It wasn't what I felt a Star Wars movie should have been at that point. You know what I mean? It wasn't like the story had put, the writers had put enough thought truthfully into the story. You know what I mean? Another problem I had was the absence of people other than humanoids. All right? the Star Wars Cantina was not mostly humanoid characters, but there were mostly humanoid characters in this final movie, which I had a problem with. Where were the Twi'leks? Where were, all of these creatures other than straight on humanoids that should have been there? They had some creatures, but it just wasn't enough. I was like, something's really wrong here. There should have been a lot more creatures than what there was represented in the movie, and that was another problem I had. Um, and but a lot of it was unpredictable. A lot of it I had no knowledge of whatsoever. But and I kind of wish it ended a little bit differently. But I'm kind of pleased with it. You know what I mean? I didn't walk out of there with this empty hole in my chest thinking, why? Why did they end it like this? 9 movies, 45 years, or whatever it's been of this, blah, 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 blah. It wasn't like that. So, I did a really good Donnie Yen head sculpt for that Rogue One movie. Oh my God. Rogue One is one of my favorite Star Wars movies. I would have to say, obviously, A New Hope is which originally, from the way I've seen it, originally it was called Star Wars, is obviously the best one because it's the first one. Um, I would say Empire Strikes Back number two, and I would probably say Rogue One is number three. Those are my three favorite Star Wars movies, and it's funny they actually go together more or less. So that's the strongest story. And my goodness, they really need to make his buddy. I don't know what his name was. They need to do that. That I don't know why they haven't released that guy. Reissue is good. I have a feeling Mark 47 is going to be in Black Widow. I'm with you, Gary. Don't you think they do a new armor? Uh, RJ is reporting just a cameo. Doubt they'd make a new armor, a new color scheme. It's easy. Reissuing Mark 47 is a good thing. Supply was scarce last time. Even SH Figure Arts Mark 47 was hard to find. I agree. We should get a petition going to get Hot Toys to make the House Party Protocol in the diecast. I truthfully have a feeling that that's why they stopped making them, was because they were moving forward with the diecast. They literally had a sneak of the Mark 28. I've made a video on that showing Jack, the Mark 28. He was a background piece, and I think it was the Mark 40 shotgun that they were doing the announcement on. So I think it was when the Mark 40 shotgun went up for pre-order. In the portrayal of the Mark 48 shotgun, I think it was the Mark 40 shotgun, was the Mark 28 Jack. He was right there behind him. Bang, there they are. Here's the one, and right there was the other one. No question about it what it was. And they did that one time before. I think it was with the blue steel where they had behind it the next figure coming out. And so I was like, oh, Jack's coming. And Jack disappeared for apparently no reason. Um, and My opinion is that they stopped it all because of the diecast. And I believe that once they're done with the Mark 1, they're going to start cranking out. I have a feeling we're probably going to see a Mark 21 first. It's simple. It's a Mark 7 repaint. Plain and simple. It's gold colored Mark 7. We have a Mark 7 diecast. I have a feeling we're going to get a Mark 21 diecast first. If we get a Mark 21 diecast, the house party protocol's on. In my opinion, my belief, my hope, if they crank out a Mark 21 diecast, it's back on. The house party protocol will come to us. And that's my hope and belief and pray. Really. I want my house party protocol. The money grab Hulkbuster is an example. We waited for it for so long. Yeah, what was it? 2.5 years? See, 2015 is when they talked about it. In 2018 is when it finally popped, right? 3 years or something. We waited for it so long because they said quantities are limited, and then all of a sudden they re-release it with the deluxe version, accessories, kits, etc. When they first announced the Hulkbuster, they didn't even show the jackhammer arm, and it was constantly upgraded. It was constantly changed. Originally, there was originally I don't even remember if there was even a bust in there. And then they changed the head, the way the head worked, and then they changed the battle damage piece, and then they made a bust that fits in it, and then they full on made it so you could slip the whole suit into it. So from the moment that they first previewed the Hulkbuster to us, that is not the same Hulkbuster that was actually delivered to us. And in the meantime, from the time that they were starting off with, here's what we've got coming to you, here's what we're going to deliver to you, they started showing it with the jackhammer arm. So at all the shows that they would take it to, it had the jackhammer arm on it and the little Veronica. And of course, we're teased, gosh, maybe this is what's going to happen. Maybe this is why it keeps being delayed. Maybe this is coming with all the changes they kept announcing. They kept popping all these new pictures. Here's new pictures of it. Here's new diagrams of it. Here's new schematics of what we're doing now. That the jackhammer arm was coming and it never happened. And then finally, they released the jackhammer arm. And I don't understand all of that either. And please check the internet connection. It's not very good. That's my Wi-Fi, or it's my cell phone. If I switch over to my Wi-Fi, it's going to be even worse. Upload on my Wi-Fi is 5 megabytes. Upload on my cell phone is 25 megabytes. So that's the beauty of it. It's hit or miss. It's all that can be done. It's it. I'm sorry, it sucks. It makes it real difficult, real hard. Compared to a taped video where I could tape it in 4K and then upload it later. I mean, this is what we're at the mercy of the internet. The internet gods. And then they want to deregulate it, right? So that everybody gets the same speed. Yeah, that would be good. I pay a lot for a high speed, and this is what I get. Thank God for Mandalorian. I've not seen The Mandalorian yet. I need to watch that. Donnie Yen still doesn't ring a bell. He's the blind guy in Rogue One. Yep. And who doesn't ring a bell is who doesn't ring a bell is his buddy, the other one. They didn't make a figure on yet. They need to. Yeah, the Donnie Yen looks wonderful. They did a great job on that. Really impressed with that. If I had the money and the space to collect Star Wars, he would be a definite. For fact. For fact. All the Rogue One would. For fact. I want Star Boost in diecast. Cannot remember the number. Mark 39 is a Star Boost. That's a nice one. I like that. I like my Star Boost. It's a good looking one. It's very unique. It's a really nice looking figure. I would get them all. That's where I'm at. Pokemon, man. Collect them all. Got to catch them all. That's where I'm at. Star Boost. I think also in the comics it's called Gemini. He has 2 names. The Mark 39 does. And the Midas. Yeah, I'm telling you, man. If they crank out the Midas, if we see the Midas as a diecast, simple repaint, gold, come on, then it's on. It's full on. I guarantee the House Party Protocol is coming. There's no such thing as an unnecessary Hot Toys Iron Man in diecast. I do understand why they re-released the Jackhammer version later. Money grab it is. The Miss 5 Angry, as they said, limited quantities at the beginning, but now we cannot even preserve the value as we don't have. The term collector's item almost shouldn't be used with these. There was a time, okay, when they would announce a number of run of them. And so, for instance, I think there's one Hot Toys, there's only, I think, an announcement of 16 was ever made of one. And I think another one, I think the announcement was 300. And I think another one, an announcement was like 800 or something to that effect. And that's it. Those that have those numbers on them are the only ones that they ever said what a number of them was. Other than that, the hope that we always had was once they sold out that they would be done, that they wouldn't crank them back up. And then this one came out with the exact same MMS number, just like the 47. They literally just re-released what they already had, what you already bought for, in anticipation of putting your kids to college with by selling in 20 years. It's just been proven that they don't give a damn what it's going to be worth in 20 years. They'll just crank out another one. That's kind of it's kind of shitty. It truthfully is. By the way, this is for teens. We're gonna say words like fuck, shit, goddamn, motherfucking cunt, piss. So just be prepared for that because this ain't no kids channel. This is an adult channel. These are adult collectibles. If you're under the ages of 13, please leave and come back later because I'm not involved in that coppa baloney where I have to worry about Child Online Privacy Protection Act. All right, I'm not entertaining children here. I'm not trying to sell to kids. I'm not trying to get your information of your child, and I'm not trying to brainwash your child into buying something. You and I have already brainwashed into it. We're buying this. That's why we're here. So the more brainwashing going on. We're already there, man. I'm still waiting for my uh, crate Luke and old Han Solo to come from the mail. I'm waiting for Luke Special Edition and Winnie the Pooh for my daughter. Is that the Mark 43 issue you have? It is, and this is the Mark 43 original. So let's get down to business, which is why we guys came here today. That's what they gave us, and this is exactly what we got again. It's literally going to be the exact same figure, and this is the pose that I have him in as he battles Ultron in the other room there. I have him in a little diorama set up with everyone but Vision is over there. Vision's over here. I need another Vision. I got Thor and Captain America and Black Widow, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, Hawkeye, Hulk, and Iron Man up against Ultron. And he's not even the final edition of Ultron. There's evidently more pieces that you still put on him to make him into what Ultron finally manifests himself into. So it's not even the full-on Ultron. And I have laid at Ultron's feet was one of the sentries. We never got any sentries either. So there's a lot of pieces that Hot Toys has never released that they really should release. And then they turn around and do this. So I don't remember how long ago this was announced. I don't know how long it took them to crank it back up again. A year? You know, truthfully, the reader issue on this was neither here nor there. Really, I have my Mark 43. You know what I mean? The Mark 47 I'm happy to get because, well, I sold my Mark 47 to pay off medical bills. And I sold my Mark III gunmetal. So, yeah, I still stand behind my position that if Hot Toys is doing you a favor, if Hot Toys is concerned about your collection, if Hot Toys is worried that you're being ripped off by somebody because they're charging you $1,000 for a figure, they would have re-released that Mark III a long time ago. And they've not. They've never re-released that Mark III, the gunmetal, the silly things, the $2,000 Hot Toy. So no, they're not doing this because they love you. You can tell yourself that all you want. Because I'm sure Hot Toys does love us. I have a feeling the 47 is coming because of Black Widow. I truthfully believe we're going to be surprised with RDJ in there as Tony Stark in the Mark 47. I think it's going down like that. So this is the exact same box, even. Now, they did reissue a Mark 42, but it was a corrected version. I thought it was a reissue, and it wasn't. They fixed the Mark 42. Mark 42's got a bad butt. His hips don't work properly. Mark 43 is designed differently. So when they opened up the Shanghai Disney store, they released the Mark 42 along that line that was available only for purchase there in the Asian market. And I didn't track one down. You would have had to pay premium. That's the same time the Mark 21 Chrome came out. and I paid a premium price for that, and I love my Mark 21 Chrome. And I did not get the Mark 42 Shanghai version. I got the 4 and 6 that they released in Shanghai versions of those. But I did not know that they corrected the Mark 42 in the Shanghai version. I would have, for fact, bought it if I knew that. So this is exactly, I mean, down to the letter, it's the exact same figure. 100%. That's why the MMS number didn't change at all. Mike Tyson. There's no better figure than a diecast. Ugliest color is the Mark VII Stealth Armor. I kind of like that. It's kind of a brownish, blackish, goldish. It's pretty cool. They're doing reissues. It's reissue exclusives like the Midas. I think we'll get the Midas. I felt the seed when I saw the promo pics of Mark VII Stealth mode. I love my Mark VII Stealth. Love it. Batteries. This unusual base. So now this is truthfully redundant to me. I really don't need another one of these for real. So that's the bad thing about it. Because again, it literally is, I can't stress this enough, no difference. There's not going to be any improvement, no change. We might see a color shift over the years of 2 years. From the time they painted this to the time they cranked up the colors again to paint this. Because a lot of times the figures, the reds and the golds are just a little different than the others. I've seen that specifically in the 4 and 6. So we might notice a color shift change, which would have been unintentional. Not looking forward to that being a feature. It's quite possible that it will be. Any prediction? Now, see, they've done the Mark I twice. I have the 2.0 version. But no, I have no prediction on what they're going to do or when they're going to do it. My Mark I is very fragile. Very fragile. I don't even like touching him. It's, and I imagine that's exactly what they're going down, experiencing while they're at it in the recreation or the creation of the Mark I diecast. I guarantee you they're struggling with that fragileness. This was, if my memory serves me, this is one of my first year of collecting figures. I'm trying to remember. I think this is one of the guys that I think he was new, and I think I'd only been collecting these for maybe a year or so when he came out originally. Yeah, I think this helps. Put this other one on here too. Here, I think this helps. Now maybe I could turn these lights on. Let them bleeding everything out. Let's see what happens. There, that's good. How's that for light? I did see The Rise of Skywalker. I seen it last night. 10:10 showing. I got out at 1 a.m. I was pleased to see it. I didn't feel it was a bad movie per se. I didn't feel it was a great movie. I don't feel it had. I don't feel it lived up to its potential. They could have made a so much better movie. So to drop his legs, in case you guys didn't know, you press this little button here, and his legs will drop. And on the 42, there's no specific button. You press this whole butt, and the legs really drop. So this was an improvement on this. Come on. And this one I can't even get to drop. It shouldn't be this difficult. I mean, the button is literally pressed and depressed. Works fine here. What the hell's going on here? There we go. So yeah, I decided if you guys want to talk about Skywalker, we're welcome to do that. I think the movie's been out for almost a month. So if you haven't seen it by now, you're not a fan. I wonder if the foam was what was keeping this from... No, it's really stiff here. And I guess that's good. I'd rather it be really stiff than for it to be flopping all about, which is what my Mark 42 does. But no, this is really... some serious stiffness going on here. They put a piece of plastic on, protective plastic, I imagine. It can be removed. I'm going to leave it there because the crotch grabber, if you use a crotch grabber, would rub there. It comes with the waist holder, the lobster claw. Nice and stiff. I'm not going to take that plastic off of his crotch. Oh, it's nice to feel this nice stiff piece. One of my pieces, I don't remember whether this is 42 or 43, but the butterfly joint also didn't work well. And this is working fine. So on here, you can push it in and out. Okay, and then you can butterfly it forward and back. And on one of my pieces, either my 42 or 43, I think it's the 42, that butterfly joint doesn't work well either. So it's nice to see a nice stiff butterfly joint here. In, out, and then forward and back. It's really nice. Nice to have a nice stiff figure. This was, what number is this? Diecast number 9. the diecasts were hit and miss back then in regards to they were still feeling it out. It seemed everyone was a different style, like the Mark III and the Mark III Stealth were differently designed than any of the other diecast figures. So by the time they got to this, it seemed that they finally had settled into something, but these are the only ones that have this butt feature. So after that, I think they did away with the butt feature. But they hadn't quite, it seemed, come to their own like they have with the new figures. For instance, in my opinion, these Mark 6s, the Mark 4s, the Mark 5, the Mark 47, 46s, those are the finest made diecast figures. That Mark 47 really comes with a lot of accessories. Very finely made figure. Oh man, it's so nice that he is so stiff. Oh man. This figure also just kind of comes as battle damage. It's not really like battle damage. It's just like used, if that makes any sense. It just looks not brand new. So I'll now have a 43 in this room because he's going to go right back to help his buddies fight Ultron in the other room. No doubt about it. Anthony Daniels and was one of the only original surviving cast members in this movie, by the way. And C-3PO appeared to be fatter. I don't think anybody else besides Harrison Ford were part of the original cast. Is that right? That was not Peter Mayhew that was operating Chewbacca. Peter Mayhew died. Princess Leia. Carrie Fisher was dead. Kenny Baker's dead. Faceplate fits well on this, always has. Gosh dang it. And the head sculpt looks nice. Always has. Always has. I don't know how many of these Mark 42 helmets I have. A lot. Mark 42 / 43. A lot of them. They made Peppers. A lot. So you can put this on either 42 or 43. It's the exact same helmet. Literally. Which is nice if you have a 42. And no, they aren't designed the same. The 42 and the 43 are not designed the same by Hot Toys. not really interchangeable. Head sculpt is. Mark 42, Mark 43. These are all the parts to the Mark 42. Full of accessories. Full. These are the pieces from the Hulkbuster for Mark 43. And these are the pieces for the Mark 42. So the reason I was looking was because the box seemed scarce. And I was like, did they not include all the pieces? But no, I had to remind myself again, this is literally a reissue. It's the same MMS. It did absolutely nothing different. 43 is full of pieces. The 42 is not. But I don't think the arm pieces are interchangeable. Let me look at them. Well, they appear that they could be. So 42 we get, this is the right arm missiles, replacement missiles for the right arm. What I want to do then is I want to look at this left arm. I don't remember, I'm sorry. See if it will come off. If it does, it appears that we could use the 42 pieces on there. It does come off. For some reason I thought that they were different pieces. That's probably my wife texting me. I would hope that work would not be texting me at 8 o'clock in the morning when they open at 10. Probably need to go see if my wife is okay. It's a battle damage right. It's a missile firing right. I probably need to go check my wife real quick. Let me go do that. I'll be right back, guys. Don't go anywhere. Did you just text me? It wasn't my wife. If it was work be damned. They need me bad enough they could call. I'm turning the stream off. Check a text. I wonder if I'm missing a piece here. This doesn't want to line up. Oh, There we go. Put your battle damage Mark 42 arm on here. For some reason I thought they weren't interchangeable. This is obviously very interchangeable. Gold versus red. Gold versus red shoulders. And then the gold finger of the 42, the red finger's on the 43. Gold finger. And what is this? Battle damage piece, I don't remember where it goes. So if you feel so inclined, if you have a 42, you can put the 42 arm piece on your 43. However, it appears that there's only just the right arm missile. No matter. 42 and 43. First half was really good. The last part was butts. Yeah, I was kind of disappointed in how they ended it. Kinda. They had a lot of potential there they didn't follow up with. Truthfully. Take a quick gander at the manual. Oh, that'd make way too much sense. Way. Gary, come on. Really? No. Can't do that, man. Can't look at the manual. Gotta figure this out on our own. Ugh. We're smarter than that. I can't argue with you. You're absolutely right. You really should look at the manual, especially when dealing with these guys. Especially when touching a figure I haven't touched in years. So definitely at least read the manual once. Always my advice. Always. I did find in poor taste how they handled Leia over using the Force and died due to overdose. I agree. I did, however, enjoy the 3-minute quip of their explanation of Leia, having the Force and training. That was nice. And it was nice to see Rey finally having a suit. Because obviously, so the story goes, a Jedi has completed their training when they've built their lightsaber or something to that effect, right? Or not necessarily completed their training, but I remember when Anakin was looking at Luke's lightsaber. It was like a big deal, that he built his own lightsaber. So I was glad to see that. I enjoyed Darkside Rey. Oh, I thought she was hot. Really enjoyed Darkside Rey. That was cool. Like I said, there was some really good parts of the movie. It wasn't necessarily I didn't feel like I was being belittled or talked down to. It wasn't as good as it should have been. It wasn't bad. It completes the story, but they screwed it up so badly that I think it left a lot of the hands were tied in regards to what directions they could really go with it. And I had no problem with the reveal of who Rey was. I would have liked it better if they'd done that like in 7, truthfully, or 8, instead of waiting until the last 30 minutes of the movie or something to divulge that to us. Um, I felt it was also kind of weird that in the days of Yoda and Mace Windu, and when all of the Jedi Council was still the Jedi Council, and we've seen the abilities of the Force didn't seem as powerful as it is now, if that makes any sense. So when you had the Masters of the Masters teaching the Force to everybody and their brother, it appears that they can't do the things now that people who just decide they're going to pick up a lightsaber and all of a sudden have the power of the Force are able to wield it. You know what I'm saying? I got a problem with that. But that falls back into hands being tied from 7 and 8. You know? Just... It just falls back into my opinion of it being very juvenile. It wasn't a mature story, which it would have been if George had written it. I don't think George wrote it. And that's unfortunate. He truthfully knew the direction of his characters and how to write a story. And I think it was sorely missing that love and passion for your characters. If you don't love people, you have no business writing books or stories. For real. And I have a feeling in 7 and 8, they just didn't have any love for anyone. Specifically the characters. Or any respect for any of that. This is very unfortunate. And so when 9 came about, they were stuck under... Their hands were tied literally by what was put into print, more or less, in 7 and 8. So, that's unfortunate. And I also felt that they kind of, I don't know. I enjoyed seeing Carrie Fisher, but knowing that she didn't there for any of that kind of hurts my feelings. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's respectful or disrespectful to do that to her. I don't know where I stand on that, to tell you the truth. I hope Kathleen Kennedy gets fired. She turned the sequel trilogy into a tragedy. They were supposed to fire her like 2 years ago. Say what you want about the quality, but Star Wars makes an average of 1 billion per movie, except Solo, and it's still making bank. Love Star Wars. I just hated 7 and 8 because it was just poorly done, and 9, like I said, it was juvenile. It wasn't what it could have been. I don't have a problem necessarily with 9. It was just juvenile. It could have been so much more, and I kind of walked out of there thinking, okay, it's acceptable. I didn't walk out of there, in tears or angry specifically at the manufacturer, the directors and producers and writers of the movie, but it was all right. It didn't leave a bad taste in my mouth. I just think that they've missed opportunities and they could have gone a different direction and they could have milked or even pursued different avenues with the character development that they had. And I think the way that they did Kylo at the end was wrong. And I'm talking about the very end. I think they should have moved or used Kylo differently in the end than they did. And and I'm talking about the very end. I'm not talking about the 10 minutes of the end. That was great. I'm talking about the last 15 seconds of Kylo. That was where I think they really screwed it up. Which is more another franchise, so she'll probably stay. I'm debating in getting the Homecoming diecast Iron Man. Last time it stayed on Sideshow for a long time. The Homecoming diecast Iron Man did not stay on Sideshow a long time last time. The Mark 47 sold out pretty quickly last time. It is on there now. You can buy it now, and I recommend getting it. It is one of the best Iron Mans that they made, and so many accessories that come with that guy. It's a good looking suit. Talking about Noble, you talking about Rise of Skywalker? How come there was two blue lightsabers? One was Leia's, but Luke's exploded in Last Jedi. Um, I thought that was Anakin's Skywalker saber. Luke's was green. When Luke built his, it was green, right? Anakin's was blue. Luke's was green. I might be wrong. I mean, I wouldn't call myself an expert on Star Wars. Seen them all, and I've been there from the beginning. But I'm almost positive that was Anakin's lightsaber, the blue one. And then what was Rey's? Yellow. When she made hers, it was yellow. Supposedly, that crystal, the creation of the saber and all that has to do with who you are as well, the color of it. Mace Windu was the only one I think we've seen that was purple, right? He told George I wanted a purple one. So that's another character I think that they destroyed before they really should have. I enjoy hearing all the Jedi Master talk to them. That was pretty cool. Palpatine, what an ass. Nice and stiff. Loving it. So it's literally like cranking out one straight off of the shelf that's been sitting there for years. And my 42, when everyone else here has a home, he sits in the middle of the House Party Protocol suits, the wine cellar. I made him an open helmet. See how stiff he is. He's holding up pretty well. Ah, there you go. There's the looseness of that joint. And that's not the button pressed looseness either. It's not the butt button causing that. But this whole piece is plastic, soft, squishy plastic. And then you press to find the button to drop his butt. So the re-release 42, the Shanghai edition 42, has the 43 butt on him. Other than that, these guys are identically crafted. And you can see the open helmet that I crafted there for that. So the only ones that have open helmets is the Mark II Armor Unleashed and the Mark 47. And the Mark 47 helmet you put on Mark 46 and the Mark 46 concept. Too bad Obi-Wan doesn't use force healing. Yeah, what the hell? Again, it falls back to all of a sudden now the force is more powerful than it was even when we had the masters who trained the masters. I mean, Master Yoda was like one of the most knowledge, member of force wielders. He didn't have force healing. Certainly never seen him healing anybody with the Force. That was just, I don't know. That was just too easy. You know what I mean? Yeah. Blue lightsaber. Watching an unboxing of this Mark 42 on another tab. Cool. So my Mark 7s came. So that's what we're going to be doing next week, by the way, in case you're curious. I've been working on my crossbones. If you remember what was going on last time, I replaced his pants. This AI doll made by I forget who is missing a lot of pieces to make him crossbones. But he is a crossbones that I didn't have, and one of the things that he had wrong was his pants were very wrong. They included black pants, and Crossbones wore a dark camo, woodland camo style pants. So I bought a pair of dark woodland camo style pants. When I put them on him, they were too small. The snap was in the wrong place to be able to close up. So I unsewed or ripped the stitches out of the snap and re-sewed the snap on so his pants will fit him now. So he has the right pants on now. He doesn't have the right shin guard. I bought a shin guard and it's not even the right one. So I've got to work on that. This little gun holster is poorly designed. I mean, this is the bad thing about third party, or when Hot Toys doesn't release something, you're stuck with whatever you can get. I'm happy to have Crossbones, but he sure is requiring a lot of work. Another thing that I was working on was my Kid Deadpool. There's Kid Deadpool, which is the kid Deadpool, and then there's Deadpool Kid, which is the cowboy Deadpool. So I was working on a Kid Deadpool. What I need to do on him is I've pinched up the back of his suit. I've got a pin in there right now, so I'm going to probably sew all that up. I also took a little piece of plastic I found to fit around his neck collar because he needed that black collar on there. So he's coming along quite nicely. 1/6 scale Kid Deadpool, not Deadpool Kid. Kid Deadpool. Oh, and I had my brother-in-law translate this Neanderoid Deadpool. Came with that little thing there, and ignorantly, I'd assumed my brother-in-law's lived in Japan for like 40 years. He translates Japanese, so I figured, well, hell, all I got to do is just show him this, and he'll be like, oh, yeah, that says such and such. It was a process for him to actually translate that, and I'm really appreciative that he did that. I didn't realize it was a process. Very ignorantly, I just assumed that everybody and their brother that knows Japanese or speaks Japanese can just look at this and tell me exactly what it is, and it wasn't the case. Anyhow, evidently what it says is, here I am, more or less. And that's how he said it, translated into, here I am, which kind of makes sense. It's something that Deadpool would say, right? And the reason I have this is because Deadpool Core, there's a little Deadpool like this that was in the Deadpool Core. And that was because all the Deadpools met up. And so he was in the Deadpool Core, one of his buddies that fought on his side. What else we got going on? How long have I had you guys? A little over an hour? So he asked for an instruction manual. I guess I'll show it to you at least. Show you where the batteries go on it. I'm not putting the batteries in. I don't keep the batteries in any of my figures. And they're not always easy to get in the first place. Page 1. Page 2, 3. Reference material for yourselves. Let's do this one first. There you go. There's your instruction manual. We've taken a gander at it. Which Marvel shows are you talking about? Because they have to some degree, but not to other degrees, right? If that makes sense. They never seem to release all the ones that we want. Hell, they don't even do them all for the movies. Again, the other guy from Rogue One, who wasn't the Force wielder, that hung out with the Force wielder. First show is the Winter Soldier and Falcon show, so I don't think how to use with release of fourth Winter Soldier. We think maybe another Falcon though. They released 2 Falcons. They released the what's it called? The first one was called Winter Soldier, right? The gray one. And the second one was Civil War, red and white and blue one. They really need to make, Captain America Falcon. We need to see that Captain America Falcon, because he was passed down the shield. So we know that's the direction that it's going. I think I'm going to keep this guy clean as a whistle. And I don't know why I don't have the missiles on here. I think I'm going to put a pair of missiles on here. I think it's because using this hand, it just seemed silly to put the missiles there. So I ought to swap out this left hand as a repulsor thruster. The right hand, the missile. Left hand. Repulsor thruster. This guy's going right back in there to fight Ultron. And let's put the missile on this hand, because we only get just a right hand missile. And he will go on the shelf here. And these pieces came with the Hulkbuster, to be able to slide him inside the Hulkbuster. Oh yeah. There we go. That'll work. So now he's represented well up against Ultron. There's a little rocket there he's about to launch. Pulse thruster in the left hand. And then he sits on his stand just like this. By the way, in the other room. That's fire rich. I'd have a whole room for all these guys. Don't have it. Oh, you don't think there's going to be a fourth Winter Soldier? I'm guessing we'll see full Captain America Falcon at the end of the show. That'd be nice. I'd really like to see that. It was good to see Sam being handed the mantle. I kind of thought it was going to be Bucky to get the shield. So I was a little shocked they gave it to Sam, but I was glad to see they gave it to Sam. If that makes any sense whatsoever. Doctor Strange 2, the director has left. What? I'm guessing Kevin Feige really didn't agree that it should be a horror film. Oh. I enjoy more putting my red and gold bones variant in my Hulkbuster. It fits. The legs don't get stuck. Interesting. A little differently shaped. The bones is, the torso is much longer than the others. I bet that looks good. Got my red and gold bones right here. Good looking piece. Really good looking piece. Really good looking piece. Really digging this. This, I think, was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, if I remember correctly. Bones is very underrated. Mark 41. The prehensile prototype to the Mark 42. God, he looks so good. He really does. I mean, between this and the Mark II Armor Unleashed, being able to see all the guts, it's really, really cool. I don't know why they haven't made another Armor 2 Unleashed. There's a little size difference here. Gosh, if they made a diecast of this, holy smokes. I haven't really looked at him in a while. Look at how good looking he really is. I guess a Morbius trader is about to drop as well. I leave the chest head open for the Hulkbuster. Also, I took out the legs of the bones when putting him inside. I see. So essentially, what you're doing then, and they just come right apart because they're just held on by a magnet, is you're doing one of these things, and then putting your bones in there. That's cool. I bet that looks really good. I bet that looks great. I forgot how good looking this guy really is. Thank you for convincing me to get him out for the shelf. So speaking of horror movies and Marvel, I'm assuming Morbius would be a horror movie. Wasn't Morbius a vampire? Isn't that his whole story? There's a whole division of Marvel that they fall under. Morbius and Ghost Rider and whatnot. I don't know who owns the rights to Morbius, whether it's Marvel Cinematic Universe or Sony. Do you guys know who owns Morbius? He feels so light after picking up this guy. Red gold going for the red gold bones in the Hulkbuster. It looks more organic in my taste. Ooh, yeah, because it would be more like, you would assume the connection of the interactivity of the suit, right? It makes complete sense. I agree. I agree. It's a pretty good way of thinking about it. And that's what's probably the most fun thing. Even if you don't pose your figures much, even if for the most part they just end up sitting in the exact same pose from day one. Unlike a statue, you can repose it. You can do different things, do this or that with our figures that you can't do with a statue. So that's the good thing about the 1/6 scale collecting, gathering, posing, is that even if we don't do anything other than just pose him, you still have that option, that ability to pose him in any other fashion other than just the fashion of how the creator of a statue does. I've seen some really good statues, some exquisitely fine crafted detail, but I still enjoy the the 1/6 scale figures because of the fact that if I so desire, want to change them, if I get tired of looking at a certain pose, I can change it out or move them around, and I can do whatever I want with them in that regards. Speaking of moving things about, I shifted my Thor and my Loki over. So this is kind of like the Avengers, per se, at one point or another. And Black Panther, Vision, Spider-Man, Scarlet Witch, War Machine, Black Widow. We have Maria Hill back there. Mark 45, if I remember correctly, or 46. one is it? Help me out. 46, I think. And then we have Agent Phil Coulson, Winter Soldier, Nick Fury, Captain America, Ant-Man, Hawkeye, Falcon, Star-Lord, Groot, Rocket, and Gamora, and Yondu. I don't have a Drax. I need a Drax. So then I moved over. What used to be next was Thor and Loki. I moved over Hulk and Bruce, and I put Loki over there with the legions of Thanos and with the Chitaris and Thor next to him. Because Loki really was never an Avenger. He kind of helped out there in Ragnarok. But he was just too mischievous to be an Avenger. He was always the adversary in that regards. I got notification that my negative suit Spidey is coming soon. So I'm hoping that after my Mark XLIII next week, that I'll have a negative suit Spidey to do. That'd be nice. Love my Spider-Man. I want all of those guys. Do you think Sony owns Morbius? So it's so funny on how Sony handles these things. They really stumbled into Spider-Man finally. You know what I mean? By going into agreement with the Marvel Cinematic Universe to allow Tom Holland over. They were unable to necessarily get a solid grounding with any of their Spider-Man projects that they did before. And I really enjoyed Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield was okay. Never got really connected to him. The multiverse was amazing with Miles Morales, Spider-Man, and the explanation of all the multiverse Spideys. Really enjoyed that. But you don't really know where Morbius would be going. I enjoyed Venom. It's so interesting to wonder how Sony is going to handle Morbius. Blade is also a Marvel, right? He's like the Morbius killer, more or less, right? So it'll be interesting to see how that goes about. I wish Sony would give up Spidey 100% to the MCU. That would be my full-on wish. I really hated the discussions and arguments that went on between Sony and Disney in regards to the MCU Spider-Man that was created. Really enjoy him in the MCU. Spider-Man, for the most part, has been Marvel's bread and butter. Their Superman, if you will. So needless to say, Sony ain't giving it up either, even though they don't crank out as much money as they should from him, or could from him. I'm loving having another 43 finally. In my opinion, Tobey Maguire was a good Peter Parker, but a bad Spider-Man. And Andrew Garfield was a good Spider-Man, but a bad Peter Parker. Interesting way of putting it. I was really happy when they did the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. It was finally a Spider-Man that was believable and not laughable. I mean, looking back on it now, 20 years, 20 plus years old, you sit there and you think, gosh, it's a 20-year-old movie. But to see Peter and Spidey brought to life on the big screen and done such a well job 20 years ago was really awesome. The only thing I never really cared for was the organic fluid flowing from Toby. You know, you didn't have the shooters. It was just similar to how Venom's, the symbiote costume worked, or just was generated out of it. I had a problem with him making organically making the web fluid in his body. I always enjoyed the shooters. So that was my only complaint with the Tobey Maguire Spidey. They did a great job telling the origination story of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man as well. I really enjoyed that. I need to get me some Tobey Spideys and some Andrew Garfield Spideys. So, guys, what do you got? You got anything else for me before we wrap this up? Mark 7 next week, man. I'm really excited about that. Got the box right here at my feet. I'm curious to see whether or not the diecast and the plastic are interchangeable. Curious to see whether or not I can use the pieces that are designed to fit on the Mark 7 diecast in order to make it into the pod. I wonder if those pod pieces will fit on the plastic. It probably won't. I'm curious then if they can be altered to fit on there. I really don't want to tie up a full-on Mark 7 diecast for a pod. I want a pod, but I don't want to sacrifice my Mark 7 diecast for a pod, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Spider-Man is supposed to be a roast god, and Tobey Maguire wasn't good at making fun of his villains. I think I agree with you there. I think I agree with you. Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 1 and 2 are legit great films. They sure are. Spider-Man 3, they kind of blew it. They rushed Venom. They made Venom really bad. And this whole evil thing that Spidey was going through was just bad. And that was the death of Spider-Man with Spider-Man 3. And it wasn't necessarily a good movie. I think they make a comment about that in Multiverse, don't they? Something like we don't talk about that or something to that effect. I should get the instruction manual out to learn how to flip open these back flaps. I know they open. I just noticed a difference here. This is interesting. Okay, so I'll point this out to you. When they were first releasing these figures, all right, they put the batteries in the figure before mailing it to you. So the figure was loaded. And then they have these little slots right here that would have a little piece of plastic in there to keep the battery from actually actuating the figure. And then what you would do is you would pull out the little piece of plastic from that slot. And they would be everywhere. The arms, the legs, wherever there was a battery compartment, there was a little slot there. Now, when they got to the Mark 43, they were no longer putting the batteries in the figure before they shipped it to you. So you had to put the batteries in the Mark 43, but the slot was still there. For whatever reason, you could have used a piece of plastic to keep the battery from powering the unit to save on battery life by just sliding it in there. But there was no batteries installed in this figure. The slots are there. On this one, there's no slot. The slot has been removed from his back. So even though we have the exact same MMS number, there truthfully is a difference in them. You see that? I don't know how minor or major that is, but there's obviously a difference between these two figures. Even though they share the exact same model and style number, Movie Masterpiece Series, whatever it is. Oh, sorry, I don't have it memorized. 278 D09. These are both 278 D09s. This 2019 or 2020 version So what does it say on it? For the copyright. 2019 version doesn't have the tab on the back, whereas the 2016 version does. So 3 years time frame, by the way, between these two. The battery, the screw is also recessed more on the new one than it was on the original. So there actually is a slight difference between them. Ever so slight. That's interesting. Very interesting to me, by the way. So, later on down the road, you want to know whether your body is a 2016 or a 2019 Mark 43? Look for the tab in the back battery compartment. Or any of them. See the biceps. Yeah, no slot. No little tab there to pull out that piece of plastic. Because I can pretty much guarantee you, none of you ever left that plastic in there on purpose. None of you replaced the plastic in there to shut the battery power off. So, it's almost an unnecessary piece. Would you get a Hot Toy Spawn? I don't follow the comics or the movies, but the design is sick if it existed. So when Spawn first came out, I bought the comics. And I don't know if I'm really a Spawn fan. It's almost like being a Morbius fan, if you will. He's a good guy, but he's not a good guy. So, I'm not a Spawn fan. I bought the first 12 episodes of the comic, and then it started getting really weird, and I kind of fell away from it. I don't even know if it's still even being made anymore. That's a what's his name? Todd McFarlane creation. He left Spider-Man. He really brought Spider-Man to life. He's the one, in my opinion, that had the uncontrolled webbing that Spider-Man looks best in. This webbing is everywhere as he's swinging from the city of New York. The webbing is just out of control. And Todd really captured the essence of that webbing. And he left Spider-Man to build his own Image Comics line, and Spawn was one of his first creations for that. Any Hot Toys from Rise of Skywalker that I would get, Ray, Dio. I'd like to see a Sith Ray made, even though she only had like 3 minutes in the movie. I thought she looked awesome. I guess that's about it. Maybe a Princess Leia, Final Days. I don't know what I think about that. I remember when I was younger, my brother had a Spawn comic. I looked on in it. The first thing I saw was a kid hitting somebody that head with a baseball bat, blood going everywhere. I was like, what the fuck? What about what about the colors between the two? Are they the same? Let me get my glasses on so I can really examine that. I wish I had a filter so I could filter out the red to determine whether or not they truly are the same. The red 25 filter would be great. Just examination here, just not comparing them, they appear to be the same. We're talking about a 3-year time frame of the paint jobs. There might be just a little bit of orange in the re-release compared to a little more blue in the original. But I mean, it's really difficult to tell for a fact. I'm going to say that the re-release is a little more warmer than the cooler original. So the red on the 43 original one appears to have a little blue tint to it, whereas the red in the new one has a little orange tint to it. Yeah, the more I look at this, the more I'm inclined to agree 100% that the color is just a little off. The gold appears to be pretty down, but definitely the red is off. It's orangish. So there's another difference between the two. Orangish red of the Mark 43. And again, that literally is because from the time that they made this 43 paint 3 years ago to the time they made the 43 paint today, a lot's happened. There's actually chemical components that are designed in the creation of colored paints. And if those chemicals just aren't there or aren't put in the exact same sequence or levels, you're going to have just a little bit off character. But it's only just very, 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 very minor difference between this and that in regards to the paint. And it's so minor that just looking at it, I think, even though I know it's now orangier, I don't look at that and think of an orange character. You know what I mean? So it is just a little different, in my opinion. It appears to be orangier. Orangier? More orange. Also, Todd McFarlane was the one that started using the odd poses when Spider-Man is swinging, etc., knees over the shoulders. Yeah, Todd really brought to life Peter. He really changed Spider-Man a lot for the better. And I think artists still follow his lead for Spidey, but I just wasn't a Spawn fan. I'm trying to remember what other movies or comics that he made that would have interested me. I think Spawn was the only one I ever read, and then I gave up on Spawn around the ending of the first, installment of those comics. Todd McFarlane also has talked a lot from beginning. Has talked a lot about him bringing Spawn to a movie company, but nobody wants to make it. They made a Spawn years ago. Did a really good job with it. You remember his cloak also is living being, and but yeah, there's a movie with Spawn in it, which is it's a good movie. Thank you, Robert Just Fan. Happy Saturday. So I think I'm wrapping this up. I can't think of much else to talk about. Pretty much talked myself out. And the 43 really is just about the exact same figure, except for the battery compartment has a hole in it now. The little tab slot is gone. So I think I'm going to let you guys go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Help me on a Patreon, because YouTube certainly isn't paying me to do this. That's why I've been so depressed in regards to cranking out videos. Shoot me $1 a month. I've got nothing to promise you for that, but just know that you'd be helping out a lot for me here on this end. Like, subscribe, share this video with your friends. Tell them where they need to go. 1/6 scale collectibles. I can't think of anything else. So yeah, next week, Mark XLIII. Week after that will probably be the Negative Suit Spider-Man. So thanks for tuning in. Good talking to y'all. Thanks for sharing with the channel. Again, this is your channel. It really is. You decide what happens here. I just kind of happen to be the one with the toys. So we'll see y'all in a week. Love you guys. Peace.